Hong Kong is currently facing a new crisis with tons of people taking a massive hit. It's not taxes or pay cuts, but something more at home. It's rent. That's right. Rent, which was formerly indicative of the city's vitality, is now seen as a sign of rising anxiety and a major dent maker in any non-homeowner's wallet. For many years, Hong Kong's image as a financial hub was its selling point, drawing in investors and top talents with the hope of a prosperous future. Young professionals were quick to move to the city in the hopes of becoming part of its storied past. But that story is changing with the current spike in rental costs. A large chunk of a young people's earnings goes into paying for studio apartments, which were formerly seen as a stepping stone. And as much as we see the rent in Hong Kong is skyrocketing and the disaster it's going to cause, why is no one talking about it? To understand how we've reached this point, we need to look back at Hong Kong's history and the factors that have drawn people to this city. Hong Kong's current housing crisis stands in stark contrast to its historical rise as a global financial hub. Once a sleepy fishing village, Hong Kong's story began in the 1840s. Following the Opium Wars, the British acquired Hong Kong Island, transforming it into a free port. This move, coupled with its strategic location, saw Hong Kong become a key trading centre between China and the West. Fast forward to the 1950s, and the city faced a defining moment. The influx of refugees fleeing the Chinese Communist Revolution brought a surge of skilled labour. These individuals, coupled with British policies that emphasised free trade and limited government intervention, fueled Hong Kong's economic miracle. By the 1970s and 80s, the city had become a manufacturing powerhouse, nicknamed Asia's Tiger. Within this same period, GDP per capita exploded from hovering under $1,000 to $5,700. This period of rapid growth was crucial in attracting people to Hong Kong. Skilled professionals, particularly from mainland China, were drawn to the promise of high wages, job opportunities, and a relatively stable political environment. This trend continued after the 1997 handover to China, with Hong Kong retaining a high degree of autonomy under the one country, two systems principle. The people have effectively had their salaries rise by 5 times in the span of 2 decades, reaching 25,000. However, the tide started to turn in the early 2000s. Land scarcity, fueled by a combination of geographical limitations and government policies prioritizing financial services over housing development, began to push rent upwards. The situation further escalated with the influx of mainland Chinese investors seeking safe havens for their capital. By 2023, the average cost of a small apartment in Hong Kong reached a staggering $1.3 million, making it one of the most expensive cities globally. Even just looking at it from a macro scale, the whole real estate market in Hong Kong contributes over $3 trillion, dwarfing most other segments. Looking closer into the details, a family of 4 in Hong Kong has estimated monthly costs of around $7,000, while a single person has estimated monthly costs of $4,900. Plus, Hong Kong ranks as the second most expensive city in Asia, with costs of living there higher than 80% of cities worldwide. If we just look at house prices compared to annual income, Hong Kong has the largest disparity, with housing costing close to 19 times the average annual salary. There are several reasons why property prices are so high in Hong Kong, but the biggest ones stem from Hong Kong's own success. Hong Kong is a densely populated small city with limited land available for development. This scarcity of land drives up property prices because demand exceeds supply. Furthermore, Hong Kong has some of the highest income inequality globally, with a significant wealth gap between the rich and the average population. The wealthy often buy land and invest in real estate, using these investments as profit sources, making prices unreachable for ordinary citizens. Another reason is the lack of affordable housing. Hong Kong faces a housing crisis, with a severe shortage of affordable housing for most of its population. This imbalance between availability and demand for affordable housing leads to increased property prices. Additionally, high demand contributes to high rents. As a global financial hub, Hong Kong attracts many investors and buyers from around the world, who purchase real estate assets, further driving up prices. So, how do people survive in a city where a shoebox apartment can cost more than a year's salary? The answer lies in a complex web of adaptation and sacrifice. The prime reason is subdivided flats and cage homes. A defining feature of Hong Kong's housing crisis is the prevalence of subdivided flats. These apartments are carved into smaller, often windowless units, using flimsy partitions. Imagine a single apartment transformed into cubicles, each housing a family or individuals. A 2016 study by the University of Hong Kong estimated that over 100,000 people resided in subdivided flats, living in cramped, unsanitary conditions. Even more extreme are cage homes, wire mesh cages stacked up on top of each other with subdivided flats, offering the bare minimum of privacy and space. Moreover, multi-generational living is another adaptation practice. The astronomical cost of rent has pushed many families to cohabitate across generations. Adult children often remain in their parents' homes well into their 30s, sacrificing personal space for financial stability. This can create tensions and limit opportunities for forming independent lives. Plus, a disturbing trend taking root are the so-called coffin homes. These are subdivided units barely larger than a coffin, often located in industrial buildings and lacking proper ventilation. The dangers of fire and health hazards are ever present, highlighting the desperate situation some residents face. Some say that people in Hong Kong also resort to the express and no-cook lifestyle. Soaring rents and limited living space force many to adopt a minimalist lifestyle. The express culture thrives, with residents relying heavily on fast food and takeouts due to the lack of proper cooking facilities in subdivided flats. This can have a negative impact on health and dietary habits. Co-living spaces also offer a shared living arrangement with amenities like common kitchens and living areas. While these can be more affordable than traditional apartments, they come with their own challenges, such as noise and privacy concerns. In the face of these challenges, a strong sense of community spirit also prevails. NGOs like SOCO offer support and advocacy for residents facing eviction or struggling to afford rent. Chapels and religious organizations often provide temporary lodging and necessities for those in dire straits. These grassroots efforts play a vital role in mitigating the harsh realities of the housing crisis. However, these survival strategies come at a cost. The cramped living conditions, lack of privacy, and constant pressure of rising rents take a toll on mental and physical well-being. The stress of finding affordable housing and insecurity of constantly facing potential eviction can lead to anxiety. But a question arises: what do the locals say about this? Let's see. Locals in Hong Kong are increasingly frustrated and anxious about the housing crisis. A 2023 poll by the Chinese University of Hong Kong found that 78% of residents believe the housing situation is very serious or somewhat serious. This sentiment is particularly strong among young adults, who face the toughest challenges in securing affordable housing. Many feel their dreams of home ownership are slipping further and further out of reach. There's a pervasive sense of hopelessness, with some questioning whether they can even build a future in the city they call home. Stories around young couples delaying marriage or having children due to the financial burden of rent. The sandwich generation, adults supporting both their parents and their own children, is feeling the squeeze even tighter. Beyond the individual struggles, there's a growing concern about the city's long-term social and economic stability. The exodus of young talent due to the housing crisis is a real threat. Hong Kong's reputation as a meritocratic city where hard work is rewarded is being called into question. If the city loses its edge in attracting skilled professionals, its future as a global financial hub could be jeopardized. This situation is further gauged by this graph, which shows how expensive it is to buy an office space in Hong Kong. Compared to the big financial hubs of London, Tokyo, and New York, Hong Kong is making a killing on their office spaces. There's also a sense of anger directed towards the government. Many locals believe that the government has prioritized the interests of wealthy investors and developers over the needs of its citizens. Policies that favor financial services over housing development are seen as a major contributing factor to the crisis. Additionally, a lack of transparency in land deals and accusations of collusion between government officials and developers fuel public cynicism. There's a growing demand for more aggressive government intervention. Residents are calling for increased public housing construction, rent control measures, and stricter regulations on property speculation. However, implementing these solutions is complex, with concerns about market distortion and potential harm to the overall economy. Despite the challenges, there's also a strong sense of resilience among Hong Kongers. Locals are known for their hard work ethic and ability to adapt to difficult circumstances. Grassroots movements and community organizations are playing a crucial role in supporting those most affected by the crisis. Charities and religious organizations provide temporary housing and basic necessities, while NGOs advocate for residents facing eviction or struggling to afford rent. Ultimately, the question remains: can Hong Kong find a way to address the housing crisis without sacrificing its economic dynamism? Young professionals, the lifeblood of the city's innovation and dynamism, are being priced out. forced to choose between career aspirations and a roof over their heads. This exodus of talent could cripple Hong Kong's long-term economic competitiveness. Beyond the economic implications lies a social tinderbox. The cramped living conditions, constant pressure of rising rents, and dwindling hope of home ownership fuel anxiety and frustration. The social fabric of Hong Kong, traditionally known for its tight-knit communities, is strained. The sandwich generation, adults supporting both aging parents and their own children, faces an impossible financial burden. The dream of upward mobility, a cornerstone of Hong Kong's identity, seems increasingly out of reach for many. This social discontent could have political ramifications. Public anger towards the government, perceived as prioritizing wealthy investors over ordinary citizens, is simmering. A lack of transparency in land deals and accusations of collusion further erode trust. If this anger translates into social unrest, the stability of Hong Kong, a key regional player, could be jeopardized. The potential crisis goes beyond Hong Kong's borders. The city's financial markets act as a crucial bridge between mainland China and the global economy. Any instability in Hong Kong could have ripple effects across the region, impacting global financial flows and investor confidence. The window of opportunity to address this crisis is rapidly shrinking. Bold action is needed from the government to ensure Hong Kong's long-term prosperity. Investing in public housing, implementing rent control measures, and fostering a more equitable distribution of wealth are just some of the potential solutions that require immediate attention. The future of Hong Kong, a city that has thrived on its adaptability and resilience, hinges on its ability to navigate this complex challenge.